All right, well, I guess this is my first stream. It's my first time, so I'm probably not going to answer any questions or anything like that because this is all a little new to me. And to be honest, kind of a learning experience. So, welcome to MGC Magni Education. My name's Matt, and today I'm just going to talk about some interview tips. The reason I want to talk about interview tips today is because with everything seeming to open up with COVID-19, I think it's a good idea to talk to everybody about just some different things for the interviews. So before we get into this, it's important to remember that first, everybody is nervous when you go into an interview. Oftentimes, the interviewers are also nervous, especially in situations where they are panel interviews, because people don't want to look foolish or ask the wrong kinds of questions in front of their colleagues. Lots of different people have different ways to deal with being nervous. I have a particular way that I deal with being nervous. I read a book quite some time ago. I can't remember the name of the book, unfortunately. But in this book, they mentioned a very good way to deal with nervousness when you're meeting with someone who is in a higher position than you. It could be a boss, a CEO, a very wealthy business person, any of these, your father-in-law. And the way to do this is to imagine that person doing a mundane task, something that everyone does. In this book, they gave the example of going to the bathroom. Now, if you think about yourself when you go to the bathroom and use the washroom, it's, not the most glamorous thing, but it's something that definitely everyone does. So if you can think of the interviewer doing the same thing that you would do, sitting there and playing on their phone or flipping through a magazine and doing what everyone does, it's a good way to help alleviate this nervousness and to bring someone down from a pedestal to a place where in your mind that they are on the same level as you. I find it works quite well. You can try different variations of this, eating a bowl of noodles, reading a newspaper, anything like that. Just any task that would be the same, that you would do the same, that there would be no difference in doing. This is a very, very good way to deal with the nervousness, or in English, we also say the jitters before an interview. Now, today specifically, we are going to look at some tough interview questions and great answers to some of these tough interview questions. Now, the nervous feeling that I just talked about that you get before an interview is usually precipitated by fear of the unknown. Therefore, the best way to prepare for an interview is to understand some of the standard questions that are asked in an interview. And the reason we say standard questions is because these questions are really standard. They're often asked in interviews, some variation of them, perhaps not verbatim, which means word for word, but there are variations of these. And I understand that it can be even more nerve-wracking when you're an ESL or a non-native speaker who is preparing for an interview. Some of the questions may seem rather simple on the surface, such as tell me about yourself. However, these questions can have a variety of answers. You will eventually find that you can use almost any question as a launching pad for any topic or story. A launching pad means a pad which you can start off from. So you can use any question for a topic or a story, and a little bit later we'll get more into what I mean by stories. All right, and this is very important. Some questions are classic, such as, what is your greatest weakness? The textbook answer would seem to be to give a veiled positive, such as, I work too much. In the end, this ends up sending the wrong message. That's right, the wrong message. Do you find working too much a weakness? And in reality, you don't want to work much at all? That is a possible way that this question could be interpreted. So, I work too much is not the strong answer that many people think it is. So think about this. How would you answer this question? Answer the question with specific examples that show clear evidence that you can back up what you are saying about yourself. Always provide answers that give information that shows you want to be the best employee the company hires. Give answers that show you are prepared. So it's very, very important to have stories or to be prepared to support your answers. And this shows the interviewers and it shows the company that you are prepared and that you are ready to meet the challenges that are involved with this position or within this organization. The following answers are provided to give you a new perspective on how to answer tough interview questions. They are there for you to use as the basic structure for formulating your own answers. So as the basic structure for formulating your own answers. So what that means is please do not copy these answers verbatim. These are just a structure for you. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this stream, hopefully by watching this stream, you will overcome some of your nervousness and perhaps even just simply get your mind in the right space to get ready for an interview. Because as I mentioned, we are all coming out of this COVID-19, or hopefully, fingers crossed, coming out of this COVID-19 pandemic. So it's good for us to be prepared for the eventualities of hopefully going for a job interview. Tell me about yourself. My background to date has been centered around preparing myself to become the very best I can become. Let me tell you specifically how I've prepared myself. So this is very, very important. The very best what? So this directly is what job you're applying for. If you're applying to be a salesman, my background to date has been centered around preparing myself to become the very best salesman I can become. Or if you are applying to be a chef, my background to date has been centered around preparing myself to become the very best chef, driver, manager, anything. It depends on the job that you're applying for. I can become. Let me tell you specifically how I've prepared myself. And at this point is where you will give some examples on how you've prepared yourself. And it's important to give specific examples. So, for example, to say 3 years ago in my previous position as a what? I did this and this and this, and this helped me to prepare myself. So it's very important to be able to give some examples to support this aforementioned preparation. Question number 2. Why should I hire you? Now, typically, this would be also said as why should we hire you? But both of these variations both mean the same thing as why should we hire you? What makes you specifically suitable for this position? And an example of an answer would be because I sincerely believe that I'm the best person for the job. I realize that there are many other college students or professionals who have the ability to do this job. I almost have that ability, but I also bring an additional quality that makes me the very best person for the job. My attitude, for example, my aptitude for excellence, not just solving, not just giving lip service. And lip service is just another word for it is platitudes, where you are just saying, yes, of course, yes, sure, no problem. But in reality, you have no idea how to do this, or you don't plan on doing a very good job at accomplishing this task. It says, by putting every part of myself into achieving it, right? I will complete this task by putting every part of myself into achieving it. In and I have constantly reached for becoming the very best I can become by doing the following. So again, this is where you would refer to a previous job or a previous career or a previous position which you held. And you would say, in my previous role as a manager and as a salesman, I have consistently reached for becoming the very best by enlisting the things you do or the things you have done to become the very best. Question number 3. What is your long-range objectives? Where do you want to be 10 or 15 years from now? And of course, there are many variations of this question. What are your long-range objectives? Or it can also be, what are your long-term goals? Where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? And these are all asking the same thing. What do you think that is? they're all asking what your objectives are. What are your future goals so that your company can have, or this company that you're applying for, can have some idea as to why you want this job and where you see yourself in the company in the future. So they're trying to decide how long, potentially, you could be employed by this company. And an answer that we would typically give, or a good example of an answer, would be, although it's certainly difficult to predict things far into the future, I know what direction I want to develop toward. Within 5 years, I would like to become the very best manager, salesman, CEO your company has. In fact, my personal career mission statement is to become a world-class salesman in the... What industry do you work in? In the automotive industry, in the banking industry, in the insurance industry. You want to become the very best or world-class in this industry. I will work towards becoming the expert that others rely on, and in doing so, I feel I will be fully prepared to take on any greater responsibilities that might be presented in the long run. So you're also again demonstrating your want or your desire to take on more responsibility and to continue your upward direction within an organization. How has your education prepared you for your career? So this is asking you about your education. This is asking you to give some examples about how your education has prepared you or has helped you to gain knowledge that would be an asset in this position. And again, a typical answer would be, as you will note on my resume, I've taken not only the required core classes in this field or in the field of banking, sales, I've also gone above and beyond. I've taken every class the college has to offer in this field, and also completed an independent study project specifically in this area. But it's not just taking the classes to gain academic knowledge. I've taken each class both inside and outside my major with this profession in mind. So when we're studying, I viewed it from the perspective of, this answer is specifically designed for someone who perhaps does not have a lot of experience in the field that they are applying for a job in. So with this answer, you have the ability to A, refer back to specific career experience you have, or B, to use your education as another point of reference to show how your education and possibly how your educational work experience, perhaps in a work placement program, has helped you prepare for this position. In addition, I've always tried to keep a practical view of how information... Sorry about that. So again, this is my first time doing a stream. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Number 5. Are you a team player? What do you think the interviewer or the interview panel is trying to assess when they ask this question? Are you a team player? When asked this question during an interview, they are trying to assess how well you take direction from others or how well you communicate with others. In today's world, a team can be varied. It can be a team that is in the office or a virtual team. Again, with the pandemic, and depending on how things go, this will be decided then based on the experience or based on the situation. And a typical answer to this question of, are you a team player, is very much so. In fact, I've had opportunities in both athletics and academics to develop my skills as a team player. I was involved in, at the interannual level, including leading my team in assists during the past year. I've always tried to help others achieve their best. In academics, I've worked on several team projects, serving as both a member and team leader. I've seen the value of working together as a team to achieve a greater goal that one of us could have achieved individually. As an example, at this point, I would work with the person to find out if a compromise could be reached. If not, I would submit. Okay. So this is just an example of some different ways or some different answers to different interview questions. The most important thing to remember when preparing for an interview is to clearly understand the position that you are applying for. Look over the job description and the job placement advertisement and see the language that they use specifically for what they're looking for in employees. If they're looking for strong employees, dedication, team players, and to tailor some of your answers to include this vocabulary. The other important thing is to just say, for example, are you a team player? Yes. Yes, I'm a team player. Good for you. Simply stating that you're a team player does not give adequate example that you are a team player. The best way to support these answers are to give real life examples that you've encountered. For example, are you a team player? Yes, I am a team player. In my previous job with ABC Company, I worked in a team with 10 members on the 999 project. The goal of the 999 project was to build a supermarket in a poverty-stricken neighborhood. During this project, we met many difficulties in reaching deadlines. To overcome these difficulties, I worked closely with the other members in my team to develop contingency plans that would help us to meet deadlines even though there were delays. By doing so, we For example, by doing so, we managed to reach the target dates on the completion of the project, and by doing so, save the organization X amount of dollars. So it's very, very good to have examples that are specific to the questions that you're going to be answering. So my suggestion for preparing for an interview would be to rehearse these questions and to give specific answers. Try answering with different stories. Try giving different examples. The other important thing to remember is that once you have used a story or used an example, oftentimes we can't use this example again. If you're pretty sure that one of your answers displays several of the qualities that they're looking for, you can include this. For example, you can say, I think I've displayed this in my previous answer where I mentioned about how we were meeting the deadline for the project with XXX company. So it is okay to refer back to questions like that. So again, thank you for taking the little bit of time to look at my live stream if you did tune in about tough interview questions. If you would like more information about this, please leave me a message in the comments below, and I will check them and respond to those messages. If you would like some more tips, specifically, of course, again, leave the comments and I will respond to them. And if you would like to prepare specifically for an interview, or if you have interview specific questions for perhaps something in your field, I would be more than happy to try and answer those questions if I can. So thank you very much for your time today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope you and your loved ones have a very healthy, happy, and safe holiday season. Thank you. I hope I see you again on MGC Magni Education. Bye-bye. Okay, so